Welcome back to the Neighbors Podcast. I'm your host, Allie Parsons, and this week's story is incredible. We have Alan and Hunter Orcutt and their story of addiction and recovery and redemption and marriage, and just such a powerful story of how good God is, even in the hard seasons of life. And we were all in tears multiple times throughout this conversation, and I'm just so grateful for their vulnerability and willingness to be authentic and open about what they've been through. And I know it's going to help someone. And if you do need help, reach out to us, DM us, and we'll connect you with someone that can help, whether it's Celebrate Recovery or a local church or someone to just walk alongside you. Because as you're going to hear in their story, if it wasn't for the people walking alongside of them, they wouldn't have found their way back to God and back to each other. And so I can't wait for you to hear this really special testimony of God's goodness. Before we get there, we just want to thank our sponsors. We couldn't do what we do without our sponsors. And not only are these sponsors, they're also friends of the Neighbors Podcast, and they are people who listen and love us and then wanted to support us through their business and sponsorship. And so we are super, super grateful for them. So our first episode this episode is brought to you by the Tutoring Club of Jacksonville. Hey moms and dads, is your child ready to start the school year with confidence? At Tutoring Club of Jacksonville, we create personalized learning plans tailored to your child's unique needs. Our expert tutors are here to help with math, reading, writing, and more for all ages and abilities. Mention the Neighbors Podcast and get 50% off your child's assessment fee. With locations in Mandarin and Hodges Boulevard, we're here to support your family. Visit tutoringclub.com/JacksonvilleFL or call us today. This episode is also brought to you by Lay Construction. Lay Construction is a full-service general contractor specializing in commercial interiors. Whether your project is office, retail, hospitality, faith-based, or industrial, Lay Construction services all market types. The company is Jacksonville-based and dedicated to serving Northeast Florida by delivering the highest quality work in the industry. For any of your construction needs, Lay Construction is your team. Check out some of their completed projects on Instagram at lay_construction or online at lay-construction.com. And then finally, this episode is brought to you by Bozard Ford. Bozard Ford Lincoln is a third-generation family-owned car dealership just off I-95 in St. Augustine, Florida. Their team wants to come alongside you for all your transportation needs, making sure all transactions are transparent, quick, and fun. Check them out at bozardford.com. That's BOZARD Ford.com or bozardlincoln.com, or stop by and see them next time you are shopping for a new car. So thank you to our sponsors. And here is my conversation with Hunter and Alan Orcutt. Okay, Hunter and Alan, welcome to the Neighbors Podcast. Thanks for being here.
Hi, we're so excited.
It's so fun. This has been like months in the making, hasn't it, Hunter? Like we talked originally, I think back in March, and then weirdly I met your sister at a retreat, randomly, small world, and then we got to connect on the phone, and you were just one of those people that I just instantly clicked with. And God has shaped y'all's story in such a beautiful way, and I just can't wait to share some of that today. Tell us, summer's wrapping up. What is the best thing that y'all have done this summer?
Summer's been interesting for us this year. I'm a wedding planner and event planner, and we had a wedding in Cabo, so that was fun. It was really fun. You went on your golf trip?
Yeah, I went on a golf trip. First time we went to San Diego and played 4 awesome courses, me and 3 good friends. So
very fun.
Yeah.
California weather is better than Texas and Florida in the summer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we were wearing hoodies in the evenings.
No.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was awesome.
I can't fathom it.
No.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your story. Like, tell us how y'all met and a little bit of your love story, and then kind of what happened in your marriage as you began to go on the journey of being together.
Yeah, I'll start first. So we actually met years and years ago, but my siblings knew him. My older siblings knew him before I did. So we all grew up in Arkansas, and my siblings all moved to Texas, and they all served at a local church, and he was one of the youth kids. And so I was back home, and so we had met over the years. And then the first day I moved to Dallas for college, Alan had already talked to me. We'd already kind of been texting.
Been DMing on Twitter.
Twitter, okay?
Not
Yes.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Yes. And so the first day I moved here, he took me on a date. And so he was trying to lock it down really fast. And here we are.
You were
14?
18?
Yeah. It's been 14 years. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a
bit of a break. She was exploring her options, but
fine.
she came back.
I did, yes. So everyone still, all of my siblings' friends are like, I cannot believe she married Alan, like little kid Alan. And so it's been cool to see how even that, at such a young age, we're now grown adults and people still see us as kids.
It's kind of, I mean, it's better than the alternative, I'd rather be a kid for life than
Yes.
feel old and stale.
Absolutely. Once we started dating, though, I mean, he was had no girlfriends, like friends that were girls. And so he was, yeah, you've had a girlfriend.
I didn't casually date, and I didn't have I wasn't close with girls. I was like, I'm going to be close with one girl, I'm going to marry her, and that's really all I need. And so that was kind of the hiccup in the initial dating for us was she was very friendly with everyone,
This is being recorded. Let's make sure.
other guys. And I was like, hey, I'm not doing that. And so we took a break, and then she called me randomly one day. We went to get coffee, and she was like, I think I really do want to be with just you. And then we got really serious after that.
Yeah, and so it was serious fast. I think we dated all together for a year and 6 months, and we're engaged and married.
Yeah, Bible college, ring by spring. You gotta
The whole thing.
get married fast.
So y'all got married at how old?
I was 20 and you were
23.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was hard? What was hard about that in the early days?
Well, I think just as a blanket statement, we always say we would totally still marry each other, but we can now see it hindsight of we are going to spend forever with each other. So there was no need to get married that young. It is our story, and I'm so grateful, but I also, any wisdom there of just take your time. You're only young for a little bit. But I would say when we got married, some of the things that we later on experienced, had we maybe not rushed into marriage, then we might have been able to heal ourselves, go through counseling by ourselves, become whole, and then get married. But on the other side of it, I am super happy we were able to do it together, as hard as it was. So
I think there's just so much you don't know, and you're both still in college. You're both still figuring out life. I mean, I graduated and was starting a job the week we were getting married.
Yeah.
And going on our honeymoon. And so we were just thrown into life. We were moving to another state, another city to work at a church where we didn't know anybody. And so everything I think was hard, but it didn't feel hard at the time because we were so excited of just we're getting married, we're starting our life together, we have a real job, I'm not waiting tables anymore, things like that were we didn't know the things that were hard. We were just ready to start life together, but there was so much. I mean, we were kids that we just hadn't experienced really any life yet, and hadn't really, either of us really gone through anything difficult in our life at that point. And so we didn't know how to navigate, just life.
Yeah. Budgets, taking trash out, lots of things. And that's just that. That's just normal life, And then too, I was a girl that just got married and away from all my friends and family. And so I wanted to spend all my time with him, and he wanted to golf with his friends. And, so it's just normal day, just marriage, trying to figure that out. And then you add on top of it, a few years later, we were at a different church, youth pastored at a larger church, more demands. And then I got pregnant out of nowhere. And so a surprise pregnancy. And then I think...
No idea how that happened.
No idea. And then that is what really kind of started our journey of recovery and addiction. And so it just was a lot of life in such a short amount of time for us.
Yeah. It was like a microwave. You were in a pressure cooker. And so then it all kind of came to a point where it couldn't sustain anymore. So talk to us about when that journey kind of took the turn and what came out and how did that go?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we both grew up in very religious Christian homes. You don't drink, you don't have sex before marriage. Like there's just a list of things you don't do. When I was in college, I started waiting tables and I started bartending. And when I was bartending, that was the first exposure to alcohol that I had ever had. And for me, it had always been this thing of like, don't ever do it. It's bad. It, hurts you. It hurts people, all the things. Well, I try alcohol for the first time. I start having drinks occasionally and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with this. I'm not hurting anybody. I actually like the taste of it. I actually like the way it makes me feel like maybe this isn't so bad. And so we would have drinks together, like at dinner or in places where, we wouldn't see people because it had to be a secret for us because we were in ministry. We were on staff at churches. We were, not supposed to be. And so it slowly kind of started integrating into our lives that way. When we moved, we'd been at the first church I worked at for a year. When we moved, it started becoming more regular for both of us. Me more specifically, but then she gets pregnant and she stops drinking completely. And I think that's where she really saw for the first time how much alcohol I was consuming because she, was completely sober all the time.
Yeah.
And that was also the season of our life where it was the most demanding or the most difficult. I was making less money at this church than I was previously, so I was working a second job valeting. She was working full-time at a retail store, and then we get pregnant. And so for me, I'm now feeling for the first time in my life like I can't live up to expectations, like I can't do the things I'm supposed to do as a man, as a husband, and now I'm going to be a father. So I'm as overwhelmed as I've ever been. I don't have any tools in my life to talk to someone about it, to cope with it in a healthy way, to process it. I'm just dealing with it internally. And the only way for me to completely shut that off or to get a break from feeling like I'm a failure was to just drink alcohol and pass out at night.
So that's how we got here. And when I got pregnant, it was definitely this like alarm bell going off of like, wait, that's a lot of alcohol. That's a lot of days in a row. Like, what's happening here? And so I went to the couple that was one of our great friends, but also like our oversight. And so I just talked to them.
Well, it was a process. I know we're like talking about it right now and it makes it sound like, a couple months after being pregnant, like we had this realization, you had this conversation, but I mean, we're an open book, so we'll say anything about what we've been through and you can ask anything, but we tried to limit it. You're only going to drink on certain days, we're not going to drink on church days or, things like that.
Yeah, like Sharpie on the bottle.
She would literally line the bottles of how much alcohol was left to know how much did I drink. So that I'm drinking more, I'm filling it with water or different things to try and raise the levels back up, stuff like that where I had cash from valeting so I could buy things without her knowing and have drinks, secretly. So I'm still keeping the levels or keeping her at a place where she thinks, he's only drinking this much. But I mean, over the course of 3 years, it was a long like trial and error.
Yeah.
Of us stopping drinking, starting drinking, rationing our drinking or my drinking, and eventually getting to a place where with alcohol, at some point you can't hide it because physically you're different.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So Alan, like when you were in the middle of that, cause it's complicated, right? Like you're in ministry doing the thing that you think God's called you to do. And you have this secret sin that you're trying to reconcile to, like, and I know that there are people out there and probably listening right now that they either have the same story, they're in the middle of it right now. And can you share a little bit about like maybe like the shame that you felt, or if you felt shame, I don't want to prescribe that to you, but like, and then what you did with that, because I think there can be so much tied to when you're in full-time ministry and you're struggling, you're sinning. Shame is just such a close thing to that, which keeps you silent from actually telling the people that can help you. And, you know, we know Romans 8, like, there is no condemnation for those in Christ Jesus. And so will you just talk a little bit about, and Hunter, you too, I'm sure you experienced too, but just that like journey with shame maybe that you went on?
Yeah, I mean, there definitely was shame in the sense of like, I know I really shouldn't be doing this, but I always justified it with, I'm not hurting anyone. Like, nobody knows. It's just my way of dealing with the challenges in my life. I think what I struggled with more than shame in that season was fear of, if I find out, what are they going to think of me? If they catch me, what's going to happen? Am I going to get fired? Am I going to lose my job? Is she going to leave me? You know, different things like that are like, not, maybe it's tied to shame, but not as much of like, I just feel like a horrible person for doing this. I actually felt like I'm not putting my problems and my burdens on anybody else. So that's a good thing. I'm just dealing with this in my own way, and nobody has to, you know, worry or burden. But I can't let them find out, because what is going to happen if I do?
So what did you think? What do you, or do you want to add to that, Hunter?
No.
What as like it started to come into the light, what did you start to realize about that mindset? Was there a shift there of, oh, maybe this is actually more of a problem? Like, I'm not bringing my problems here, but maybe this is actually destroying me. Like, what was like the shift when then it started to come out and like come into the light when you started like your healing journey?
The healing journey was a long one. It was, years of healing, sobriety, and relapse, and things getting worse and worse and worse before they got better. And I'll let you kind of jump into some of that. But nobody knew we drank until she had a conversation with the people that we worked for.
Yeah. So once we started talking to them, they definitely gave, because they were such good friends and loved us and wanted us to, you know, fix everything and get better. They set him down and were like, if you don't get help, we're going to fire you. You can go work at Home Depot. Like, I don't care what you have to do to get better. And so I think that just having those type of people, like pillars in your life, they forced us to keep moving forward, or going one way or the other, just not just, you know, oh, okay, we'll pray for you. You know, it was like, we got to put some action to this. And within that season, they actually ended up taking a different job in Austin. So we were in Oklahoma. They took a different job. And so we were at this place of, do we stay, do we not? And we had our daughter at this point. She was 3 months old. And it just came to the point where, with everything going on, it's like, let's go back where family is. Let's try to be with people that we love. So we ended up making the move back to Dallas. And that is where I think when we really talk about the light and everything starting to come to, we moved in with my parents, and my dad is when I tell you, an old school, 41 years of like old school revival evangelist. And so I was like, surely he is not going to move in and try to start drinking at his house. So we move in, and I feel like we're like, okay, maybe that is behind us. I had no idea what it was going to become. But we were there for about 2 weeks. And one day I come in their house, he was sitting there, and he was just drunk, like completely drunk. And it broke me, because I was like, wait, we're here again. And it's a whole new setting and a whole new place. I felt like we had almost packed up and left that. And so...
Yeah, the plan was move back to Dallas, find a job at a church, have a fresh start, like begin our lives again with our daughter. But in that, trying to find another job, I need to work, I need to make money. So I went back to waiting tables just while I was interviewing and trying to find jobs, which, again, now I have cash. I can go do and spend money. And instead of saying I made $120 that night I made $100 and, you know, I've got $20 to buy alcohol with or whatever. And so really quickly into us moving back, again, going back to I'm however old, I have a daughter, I'm waiting tables, like what am I doing with my life? My way of dealing and coping with that was drinking. And so I was really quickly back into sneaking, hiding, and drinking alcohol.
Yeah. And so I ended up giving him some grace of like, you're not going to drink here. This is not going to happen. And he definitely was on like a sober clock of like 14 days. That's kind of was his. So I was always holding my breath when we got closer to that. And so another 2 weeks went by, and that day he was passed out upstairs drunk. And so I called his parents, and that was such a shock for them because Alan is considered the golden boy. He is all of the things that I love, but I think a lot of those labels are also what pushed him to drink because he had to be perfect. And when I called his parents, it was such a shock for them. And it's like they almost didn't believe me. So they ended up, I packed his stuff up and his parents picked him up and he left. And that is what started our 15 months of separation. And I feel like God gave me such grace to have boundaries and to really push him to either you're going to get sober or you're not. And we're not going to stay in this gray area. And looking back, I'm like, I was so young and there was so much chaos. I don't know how I did it, but thank you, Jesus, for giving me the amount of grace and strength and just everything else, trying to be a mom and work. And so that I really thought he was going to get better. There's no way he's going to be away from Mitchell, which is our daughter. And we went on a long, long journey. There was a few months I was like, he's going to get sober and it's great. And we would kind of work towards potentially getting back together and then he'd be drunk. And really when it finally came to, this is really serious for me was he was driving. And I guess you can say that day.
So when she kicked me out, I woke up intoxicated, and to learn that now my parents know they're on the way and she's kicking me out, I have to go live with my parents. I was 26 years old. And so I was angry, not in the right state of mind. Moving in with them, for me, now I'm like, my life's getting even worse. I'm away from my family. I'm still waiting tables, like no chance I'm getting a good job right now. And so I just started drinking more and more and more. A couple months into living with my parents, they are moving from one place to another in the same city. With the schedule of waiting tables, I have, days where I'm not working or a lot of free time. My parents have full-time jobs. And so I was helping them move. I was using my dad's truck and I was taking furniture and clothes and just boxes, different things from one location to another. In that, that's not fun. And so I'm like, what would make this more enjoyable if I, had a buzz or whatever. And so I'm drinking, moving, driving, all of that in the middle of the day. I'm crossing a busy intersection in Waxahachie where we live, and depth perception, everything is just so off, obviously. And I run into a car trying to cross this major intersection, a car with a family in it, and total my dad's truck. Nobody in their vehicle was injured, thankfully. But I'm rolled over in a ditch. The police show up. I call my dad and tell him, that I was in an accident. So he leaves work to come see the accident, see me. By the time he gets there, they've already done a field sobriety test on me. They're putting me in handcuffs and loading me into the police car to take me to jail for DWI. And I spent the night in jail.
And I get super emotional. I cry all the time anyways. I mean, it's fine. But especially when we start talking about this, because that day alone could have changed so many people's lives. Ours, the person he hit, there were kids in the car. And so I am just forever thankful for protection in that day. And so I genuinely thought, oh, he's from this, the DUI, DWI, he's definitely going to get better. And I then, though, had to switch into my mom hat of I have to protect my daughter, and this is not okay. And so I gave him an ultimatum of, you're either going to go to rehab or you cannot see Mitchell. And that's it. And a lot of people didn't agree with that. A lot of people were like, you're being too harsh. You haven't given him. And I'm like, but again, going back to the beginning, people didn't see all those months before and all of the time leading up to that. And so that was October. And within that month, by November, by Thanksgiving, he was on his way to rehab. And rehab was something I couldn't believe he was actually saying yes to, because he had always had this.
She had mentioned rehab a lot. And I was like, no, I could stop whenever I want. You know, it's not that bad. It's not that big of a deal. There's no way I'm going to rehab. And then after the DWI and the ultimatum, I was like, okay, I'll do whatever. I don't want to lose my family, so I'll go to rehab. So we went to a rehab in Florida. I checked in on Thanksgiving Day, my 27th birthday, and spent 30 days there in rehab, which was the longest at that point I had been sober for any amount of time.
Yeah, and that is, like, Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays, and I love watching Snoopy come down, you know, it's like the best thing ever. And I had never seen the parade, and so my family and some other family members, about 20 of us, ended up taking a trip to New York, and I had our daughter, she's 9 months old, it's me, it's my sisters, it's all of us. And I'm like on the 14th floor looking out, waiting for the balloons that morning. And my husband's across, you know, the country checking into rehab. And I was like, that's such a moment for me. Like, how did my life get here? But I was so hopeful in that moment of just like, God, he is doing what he said he would never do. There's some hope, you know, and I was very much, as long as you're getting sober, I'm going to be here for you. But if you're playing games and you're lying and you're drinking, like, I can't do this for years. Mitchell's not going to be 10 and she still sees this yo-yo. It's not healthy. And so I was very hopeful and broken in so many different ways that Thanksgiving. And so Thanksgiving, I feel like, is extra special for us now.
Hunter, I'd love to know, because what I was about to ask, and then you brought it up, is like, how did you continue fighting for hope through all the ups and downs of it? Because again, I just imagine someone listening to this right now, and whether it's betrayal in a marriage, whether it's addiction, whether it's like infertility, it can feel hard to keep hoping, like the cyclical cycle. So how did you keep showing up to fight for hope?
It's really hard to pinpoint. Let's give you a 3-step of how I kept having hope. I think truly I was very intentional about every day being in journaling, my Bible, listening to where, like, I just was consumed. And isn't it funny how sometimes when you're in like your lowest points, you're the closest to God. And that's how I feel. I was so close because there was nothing else. Like, I had nothing. I didn't have money. I didn't have a house. And my husband wasn't there. And so the only thing I could cling to was God. But I feel like that is a very churchy answer. So what I'll say too is I was in counseling. I was in counseling by myself as we started as he got sober and we started to get back together. We went to counseling together, but I was in counseling. I was in church. I mean, I was there all the time, I feel like, with people that I loved. And it's hard to have hope when someone, like he was saying, it wasn't just that he was drinking. He was lying. He was sneaking. He was doing all of these other things that just on top of each other felt like I was being so disrespected and unloved. But I knew that wasn't him. I knew how much he loved me. I knew that it was a larger problem of just addiction and when you are addicted to something and you haven't fully given your life to the Lord, like, that's not the person I know talking to me. It's the addict. And so I was able to really kind of divide those. And so what gave me hope was I know who Alan is to his core. And if he's willing, then I know things are going to get better.
I think
Alan, did you? Oh, go ahead.
I think it goes back to like earlier, the question about us getting married early and like what we didn't know and all of that. It started with her, but we worked on ourselves. We had to work on ourselves and becoming the best version of ourselves and who God created us to be, independently of each other. We'd never done that before. As teenagers growing up, as being as dating, as getting engaged, as being married, like, we wanted our marriage to be great and healthy, but we didn't focus on ourselves being great and healthy. And so I guess that's maybe the biggest thing we didn't know getting married so young and going in, is like, we didn't have time to become the best Alan and the best Hunter for each other. At least it wasn't a priority. And so at this season, when everything is falling apart, there's a moment, a realization, I think it was earlier for her than for me, of like, there may be a life for me without this other person. And if there is, God can still use me. God can still do stuff in my life. My life can still be amazing and happy and fulfilling, as much as that would hurt and as much pain as that would cause. So I've got to be the best that I can be to be what God's called me to be, if it means we're not married and this person isn't in my life anymore. And that, for you, what you're talking about is where you started saying, okay, I'm going to meet a counselor, and yeah, we're going to talk about stuff with my marriage and with Alan and how to process and deal with that. But more than anything, from what you've told me, in those counseling sessions and working through that with her, was, how do you become the most healthy Hunter possible to have the, most fulfilling life for yourself, with or without Alan? And I eventually got there, but it still got a little bit worse before it got better.
Okay, do tell us about that.
Yeah, we'll just keep telling you. But he got home from rehab December 22nd, so he was there for a month. And again, as long as he was getting sober, I was there, and so I picked him up with his mom and Mitchell at the airport. And it's like Christmas. He's sober. He did what we needed to do. Yay. And so we were able to make it. Again, the 14 days were good.
We got back to Dallas. I got back to Dallas. We went home. We went straight to Arkansas to spend Christmas with her family. And it was this, like, everybody knew in the family now, at least at this point. But Alan did it. He went to rehab. He's sober. He's getting better.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to get back together. And this is just the first steps of that happening. And so we spend Christmas together in Arkansas. We come back to Dallas, and almost immediately into coming back to Dallas, I'm like, I went to rehab. Let's go. Like, where are we moving in? Like, we're starting our life together. Like, I did what you asked me to do. And she's like, hold on. You've been sober for 30 days. Like, that's awesome. But I've got years of history showing me, like, can you continue to do this? I'm not rushing back into this for myself, for you, for our daughter. And I was not happy with that. I'm like, I just went to prison for 30 days, essentially. And so I start drinking again pretty quickly after we get back from Arkansas.
Yeah, and I didn't. It's not that I didn't take the bait, but I'm like, I need some more time, and so we were separated. And that is when, again, I didn't know when he was drinking, when he was, or, anything like that. And he'd started, and he had come over to see Mitchell and I at my sister's house. And the moment he opened the door, I turned around, I probably looked like I'd seen a ghost. I looked at my sister and I was like, he's been drinking. Like, it was so crushing. And so I had already been in talks for months with a lawyer, just because of my rights with my daughter, of he is making really bad and potentially harmful decisions. So not that I didn't want him to see her, but I also needed to make sure like we were all safe in this situation. And he came in and I was like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this, and the lawyer had actually emailed me and wanted to know like, hey, when are you going to send your retainer? And I was like, the money I don't have. Great. And I was going to respond and I just sat there. And one of the moments, again, I felt like God so clearly spoke to me was wait 6 months. And for me, I was like, okay, 6 months. I've already wasted how many years? And what does that mean? Are we going to be divorced? Is something going to happen? Are we getting back together? At that point, there's no way we're getting back together. And so I just sat and prayed and really was like, okay, God, like I'll give you 6 months, like whatever you need me to do. And so I emailed her back and I was like, I'm not ready to move forward at this time. And there was about 2 weeks that from that point on, it got really, really bad. He was drinking, I feel like nonstop.
So after that, when we were going to stay together for the weekend, I showed up and had been drinking, and she knew immediately. She went to Walgreens and bought a breathalyzer. I
sure did.
And was like, no, I'm going to show you.
I did. Because no one believed it. A few people didn't believe me. They're like, sure, how can you tell? I'm like, oh, I can tell. Yes.
So now I'm like, oh man, I did everything you've asked me to do. I've tried it all. I went to rehab. I still can't stop drinking. Like there's no way we're getting back together. Like life is over in that sense. And so I picked right back up where I left off before rehab. I'm drinking during the day. I'm drinking as much as I can at night to pass out. I'm drinking when I wake up to get started and like have some sort of clear mind, to go about the day. At that point, I had gotten a job at a bank as a teller in town. And so I was going into work on a Friday, but I had to do like this defensive driving stuff for my DWI. And it was the last day. I had to have it mailed out overnight that morning. And so before my shift, I was like, I'm going to run, get this mailed off, and then I'll go into work. After I drop it off, I'm driving to the bank, and there's a liquor store on the way. I'm like smiling now because it's like, it was just so crazy.
Horrible decision.
I'm driving like, I'll stop at the liquor store, I'll get something so I have it for the weekend. I don't have to worry about getting it. Like I've got the stuff I need to drink this weekend. I grab the biggest bottle and cheapest bottle of whiskey I can buy. I'm driving from there to the bank. I start drinking in the car of like, this will help me get through this shift and get through the day. I start throwing up on myself in the car while I'm driving. So now I'm rushing home to change clothes, to be presentable, to go into work, stash the liquor at home, go into work. I try to check in and go to my spot and like be on the floor to start working. My boss calls me in immediately and says, Alan, you are intoxicated. Like you can't work, you can't be here. And I'm, no, I'm not. Like, what are you talking about? Trying to hide it and lie. And eventually I just break down and start weeping. And my boss at that point calls the Celebrate Recovery pastor at the church across the street from the bank I was working at to come over and meet me. And she calls my sister to come pick me up and take me home, when instead of, she could have called the police or done a lot of other things that...
Yeah, and I want to speak on that too, because talk about how God puts the right people in the right moments. We see her every year when he gets his chip, and she had been in Celebrate Recovery for other things, and her dad passed away, and she has all his chips from him being sober, like 30 plus years. But if you just look at it, she's just a bank, employee, and he just happened to work at a bank. But if you see it in the overview of like who we needed at that very moment to be so specific with alcohol addiction, like God put them together. And so I also want to pause there too. I'm so thankful for the local church, because the police could have been called, and I don't know if he would be sober today, but because there was a pastor that has given his heart and soul to recovery and has truly believed in the process, he was the one that made so many decisions after that, guided us. And I'm just forever thankful, because that day could have gone so many ways. And so from there, the day continues.
He shows up. I don't even remember most of this. I know we had a conversation at the bank. My sister shows up. She takes me home. At this point, I'm like...
You start wandering the street. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
He's like, I try not to.
So, open book, I really wanted a dip. And so my sister wouldn't take me to the gas station to get a can of Copenhagen. And I was like, well, I'm going to walk. I'll walk to the gas station, like completely drunk out of my mind. And so I'm walking from my parents' house to wherever the closest gas station is. And she comes to pick me up, and she's like, you're not walking there. You're in no state to be doing this. Convinces me to go home. I'm home. I'm in bed. I mean, it's 1 o'clock. It's like whatever. So I'm just drinking to drown my sorrows away.
And I'm like an hour away calling, like, what's happening, what's going on, and it's like no one could really deal with him. So finally,
my parents are at work. My sister leaves. I'm at the house by myself. I'm drinking more and more and more. I end up texting her, life would be better for you and Mitchell if I wasn't here. And I truly believed that, I'm just causing them pain and trouble in life. I didn't have any intention or had any plans to do anything physically to myself, but I truly believed your life would be better without me. When I send that text to her, she starts freaking out. She's calling my parents, she's calling my sister. Who's with Alan? What's he doing? What's happening? Is everything okay? My sister calls the police. My dad is in there trying to just talk with me and process with me. The police show up. My parents also called the Celebrate Recovery pastor that I'd met earlier that day. He shows up. What I didn't know at the time was, one way or the other, I was going to a detox center, either forcefully because of the things I was saying, or voluntarily because I chose to, and my parents take me. So he convinces me somehow to voluntarily go. My parents drive me into Dallas to a detox center. I check in, and it is like nothing I could ever have thought or imagined of, especially a place that I would be in. There are hundreds of beds, people lined up with IVs. Eventually I get taken into a room, and there's people that can't put sentences together. They're completely incoherent. They're like banging their heads on the wall. Felt like a psych ward to me at that point. And I just remember sitting there thinking, how in the world did I get here? Of like just replaying my life and what I thought it was going to look like and what I thought it was going to be, to sitting in this room surrounded by these people. And I felt like in that moment, God showed me, if I'm in charge of my life, this is where I end up. If I make the decisions for Alan, this is how good of a job I do. And I said, I don't care what the rest of my life looks like. I don't care if my marriage lasts, if I work in ministry again, if like any of the things I thought my life was going to be. I just want to be in God's will and do what he's called me to do. Spent the night there, and my parents, or my mom, I think my mom, I don't even remember.
You didn't call me, so I'm still bitter about that one. It's fine.
I get checked out the next day. I do remember we went to Chipotle because I love Chipotle. And it was probably the best meal I've ever had. I tell her all the time, all seriousness, I would rather go back to jail than go back to that place. Like it was awful. But that was the first day of being sober for me. And the last day, I had a drink.
That was January 26th?
January 26th, 2018.
Wow.
And from there, for me, I came out truly acting that way that I felt like, I don't care what my life looks like, God, I'm just going to do what I think you've told me to do. And that started a chain reaction of things in my life where I was at Celebrate Recovery every single Monday. I found a sponsor in Celebrate Recovery. I started a 12-step group that I met with guys every week for a year. I saw a counselor every week that specialized in addiction and recovery. There were some really, really hard boundaries and parameters set up. I didn't have any access to any money for 90 days. So my cards, any cash, like my parents controlled all of that while I lived with them. If I needed to buy groceries, if I needed to pay bills, send her money for diapers, whatever, they did it all. I couldn't drive a car for 90 days. So my sister picked me up and took me to work and grabbed me from work and took me home. If we went to church, if we did anything, like I didn't drive or do anything anywhere. I kept a receipt of every purchase I made for a year and gave them to her so she could see exactly what I'd spent, which at times was annoying. Like if I get gas, 8 months sober and the receipt doesn't work at the pump, I'm going inside. Can I get a receipt for this? Like, just really hard. And like, it would have been almost impossible for me to go and get alcohol at that point. Because I was at a place of, I don't care what it takes. And even if it doesn't work and she doesn't take me back, I'm not going to live the rest of my life this way. And at the same time, also struggling with like, how do you, like, the thing that people say in church, or that was always told to me, and we love the church, so this isn't like me dogging the church, but I don't know that the church has always been the best at handling this type of situation in recovery. Mm-hmm. The thing that was always told to me as I'm talking to people, as I'm trying to get sober, was like, just give it to God. Give it to God. He'll take it away. He'll take care of it. And I'm like, I don't know how to give God alcohol. Like, I don't know what that looks like. But I was reading at the time and just learning a lot on giving. And I'd always given, like I tithed because that's what the Bible says and my parents made me, and so I just kept doing it when I was an adult. But I didn't really understand it, and specifically the difference between tithing and offering. And so I'm reading, I'm learning, and I felt like in that season, God was saying, if you can trust me with more of your finances, you can trust me with everything in your life. I was making the least money I'd ever made. I was literally making like minimum wage, working at a metal decking shop. I had more expenses in my life than I ever had because I'm paying bills as much as I can with her. I have court costs. I have attorney fees. I have probation. I have a breathalyzer in my car. I have classes, like mandatory classes and community service stuff, like all of these things.
I want to pause. He's very serious right now. But the breathalyzer is one of the worst things. You literally have to hold it and you literally have to hum for 45 seconds every 30 minutes when you're driving a car.
You have to do it to start the car and then every 30 minutes while you're driving.
Oh, wow.
And there's a camera to make sure I'm the one blowing it. I'm not like giving it to somebody to blow while I'm driving.
Wow.
Yes.
And even if she's driving the car, she has to blow. Like whoever's driving the car has to blow, or the car will not start.
And that was for 2 years. So it's like also the things that it's like, it's not like you get a DUI and you keep going. Like it was this continual, every aspect from receipts to your car to court dates, everything. So
I still have, they have caps on the breathalyzer because, you need to change it out. They get dirty. I still have one that I keep in my car.
I find that and I'm like,
just
I'm so happy you're sober, but...
this thing brings back bad memories.
Yeah. Where was I?
You're giving, I'm sorry.
Oh, and so all of those, everything in life, making the least money, having the most expenses I've ever had. And I felt like, okay, God, I'll give you more. I'll give you 5% more. And so I started giving 15% at that time. Our finances were still separated at this point because we were living separated. But I started increasing my giving. The day I'm going into court to find the sentencing for my DWI, my sponsor calls me and says, hey, I know you're going in today. Like, just want to pray for you. He's like, but also my company is opening an office in Dallas. I think you'd be a good fit. And we can talk about it later, but just want to put that on your radar. I have no experience in this field. I've never done anything like this. Like, no reason to be considered for a job like this. But Coming out of court, I meet with their team, I interview, I actually get hired there, and now I'm making more money than I've ever made at any job I've ever had in my life. And we are starting to look for apartments together where we're going to live, and we end up finding a place downtown Dallas, close to where the office is, and we moved back in together 6 months from that date that she felt like God told her, give me 6 months, July. We signed a lease, move into an apartment together.
Literally.
Oh,
It was 6 months, almost like literally 6 months in like a day. It was, and even then, a lot of people were like, you're going to go ahead and move back in. Like, you feel good about this? And I did. Like, I just felt so strongly that, number one, all of the things he was doing leading up to that were so different from all the times before. I mean, you could just see it. Like, when someone has finally surrendered their life and their addiction to God, and the only thing that they have left is just to live a holy life, you can tell. And also, that was such, I think, a confirmation for me was the dates. I'm not like really big on God said it and I have to. That was probably the only time I've really felt that, outside of one other time. But I knew he had given me that sense of hope. So going back to that hope, God will use certain things and people to give you hope in such dark moments, because then if you hold on to those, he will in time show them, reveal them at like the perfect timing. And that's what it was for us. And so,
and I just want to go back, like, Alan, when you were talking about when you landed in that detox center and you had that aha moment. That's all of us. We all come to a place, maybe not physically in a detox center, but we all get to a place where we realize, if I keep doing life as I want to do it, this is where I end up. Like, that is true for everybody, even if it's not physically on your back, on a bed, incapacitated, and needing other people to help you detox. That is what happens to us spiritually. And I just think that's a really powerful visual and display of actually being saved by Jesus is not showing up like to a country club and getting invited in. It's on your back in a hospital without being able to help yourself and needing something far bigger than you to pick you up and provide you a better life. It's literally the only way. And so I just wanted to add that, because I just think that was such a powerful example of that, which you experienced.
Yeah, I think I'm glad you experienced it.
Visually, I can see myself exactly where I was. The room, the people, all of it.
Yeah. So now you've been 7 years sober? 7.5?
7.5.
Congratulations. I mean, seriously, incredible, and to God be the glory. And I would love to know, just as we kind of end our time, what are the things that you all learned through a story you would have never written for yourselves? What have you learned about God through this journey of addiction and recovery and healing?
You want to go first? You're all emotional. Go for it.
God's just so good. Like, he's just... It's hard because we're in a hard season right now, too. And so, sometimes when you're in hard seasons, you forget what God's done in other hard seasons. And so looking back now, you're like, he's just so much better than anything you could hope or think or want him to be, even when it doesn't seem like it or feel like it. And so we learned that God's so good. And his way of doing things is so much better than our way, even if it doesn't look like it, or if it doesn't make sense to yourself, to other people around you, or even immediately. Even in like sobriety and recovery, it's not like, I've made the decision to get sober, I'm trying to do this, and everything in my life is just getting better. Like, there were a lot of things that still got worse or were challenging, or I didn't know how to do, didn't think I was going to get out of, that, I could have easily just said, like, this isn't working. Sobriety isn't working. My life's not getting better. We're not getting back together, and gone back. But staying with what God's called you to do, or what God's told you to do, even if it's not in the time that you want, is better than trying to figure it out on your own. And then we hit it a little earlier, but I think the other thing we learned about God and about ourselves is, like, God has a purpose for our marriage, and there's a reason that we're together, and he can do so much more through us collectively, but that doesn't separate the need to be with him individually and independently. And he's called each of us separately to be someone in something specific, that if we do that, our marriage, the impact we can have as a couple, the things that we can do and accomplish for him in our lives are that much better when we focus on those things first.
So good.
That's good. I to touch on what he said, we've had a lot of loss this year, and it's been a really interesting season there. I feel like, how am I smiling through all this? And I truly believe God has taught me over the years so much of, he is going to give me enough grace for this very moment. If I think ahead, or if I try to go back, I know that he is giving me right now the right strength, the right people, as long as I am willing to lay down my life and say, God, like, what do you need from me today? How can I be a better person and servant for you today? And that is something I had to learn, like, when we were going through everything. And now it's like such a daily, like, almost, I'm happy. And everyone's like, why are you so happy? Oh my gosh, the month you've had, how are you? And I truly just feel God's love and greatness on me. And it's because I'm reminded of everything he's done for me. And so, I love you, but sometimes he doesn't see that. And I think even in that, being individual, where there are things that I know I am called to do, or called to say, or called to be right now here, but also here, he can do the other. I can't do a budget. He can do a budget for me. That's basic. But as far as just every day, I feel like separately we're growing, but together we're also becoming the best version of us.
Yeah. Our pastor has a phrase he says often, that everybody wants to be strong, but nobody wants to be sore. And when I hear your story, I just think about, like, it's not enough to just say, oh yeah, I want to be sober and God's got it. Yeah. Like, you had to blow in a breathalyzer for 2 years. Like, you had to show up to meetings. Like, this is hard work. Yeah. And so it's both, and it's God's ways are better, and I have to work hard. And so I think just, like, seeing y'all now, and I'm so inspired and encouraged by how vulnerable and open, like you kept saying, we're open books, because the enemy would love nothing more than to keep your story hidden. Yeah. Because it's going to help people. This is going to set people free, probably for the first time, hearing someone actually share how messy, nonlinear, and worth it recovery and healing is. And I know it's going to bring a lot of hope. So I just thank y'all so much. Yeah. And I can't wait to see what comes from this. And we are cheering y'all on and are so inspired by your story. So thanks for being here.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. We'd love for you to join us in The Neighborhood, our Patreon community. It's a space for the good, the hard, and the hilarious. A place where real life happens. It's $5 a month, or any additional amount you choose. You'll get a podcast episode once a week from Caitlin and I, plus additional videos, early access to events and merch, and more fun things we'll do along the way. So come join us by going to patreon.com/neighborspodcast and sign up. We'll see you in the neighborhood. And if you enjoy Neighbors, we'd love for you to leave us a 5-star review anywhere you listen to the podcast, or subscribe and give this video a thumbs up on YouTube. Sharing is the best way to help our conversations make it into more corners of life. To grab your favorite Neighbors merch or resources, you can head to our website, theneighborspodcast.com. Neighbors is produced by Logger Creative, audio by Taylor Minning, and music by Austin and Lindsay Adamak. See you next time.
Brighter days, new mercies every morning. You never shy away to tell me that you're for me. How could I repay this? Whatever can I do but offer